It is my privilege today to report to the nation through this press conference on two matters of ongoing national interest. I will first give an update on our independence celebrations, and secondly, an update regarding post-Hurricane Irma developments. I am convinced that on this forthcoming Independence Day, Tuesday, September 19, 2017, we as one nation, this great federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, ought to sing our magnificent national anthem a little more lustily, particularly that line, and I quote, that God in our struggles, St. Kitts and Nevis be, a nation bound together with a common destiny, end of quote. Tuesday's successful national service of prayer and thanksgiving to God, held concurrently at the Wesley Methodist Church and the Charlestown Methodist Church in Nevis, served as a reminder of this intertwined destiny that is held together and preserved by the divine power of God's protective care. Hundreds of Kittitians and Nevisians attended church, and they gave thanks in praise and worship for St. Kitts and Nevis being spared from the extreme ravages of Hurricane Irma, a storm that had threatened to be for our federation a catastrophic, dangerous Category 5 hurricane. We do therefore have a lot to be thankful for as we go about celebrating our independence. Yet in light of the considerable disruptions caused by Hurricane Irma, followed in quick succession by the threat of Hurricane Jose, it became apparent that we ought to curtail some of the celebratory events previously publicized on our Independence 34th anniversary calendar. I want to take this opportunity now to apprise the national community again of the state-sponsored activities that still remain. This Saturday, the 16th of September, which is a public holiday, is the annual National Heroes Day ceremony at our historic National Heroes Park. The National Heroes Day observance will begin promptly at 8 a.m. We will honor all 5 of the nation's most illustrious sons of our soil for their remarkable legacy and their lasting impact on our national development. On Sunday, September 17th, all are invited to attend the Independence State Service, which will take place at the Charlestown Methodist Church at 5 p.m. There is no transportation cost to be borne by anyone. The Carib Queen will depart St. Kitts at 3 p.m. and the Mark Twain will depart St. Kitts at 3:30 p.m., all of course headed for Charlestown. We urge everyone journeying to Nevis to be on time. Please note that the ferries will return to St. Kitts after the state service. So in other words, we have put in place 2 boats to ferry those interested of moving to and from the service to their respective destinations. That is from Bastia to Charlestown, Charlestown back to Bastia at the end of the state service. Monday, the 18th of September, is a normal working day. Let me repeat, Monday, the 18th of September, is a normal working day. Tuesday, however, September 19th, will be a public holiday in commemoration of our 34th anniversary of independence. The Independence Day Parade at Warner Park is scheduled to start at 8 a.m., and this will be followed by the toast at Camp Springfield, which should start at about 10 a.m. The Independence Cocktail Reception will be held under the distinguished patronage of His Excellency the Governor General at Government House starting at 7 p.m. On behalf of the Cabinet and His Excellency our Governor General, I invite all to attend these commemorative events as we celebrate our nation's 34th anniversary of independence. We do so with humility and gratitude for God's blessings to date. I turn now to matters to do with the post-hurricane damage, and I try to avoid repetition of what has gone before. It is well known that Irma visited our region as a dangerous Category 5 hurricane on or about the 5th of September 2017, and it left behind significant damages, including the near devastation of Barbuda and St. Martin. It dislocated Anguilla, the British Virgin Islands, and the United States Virgin Islands. The estimate of damages to Latin America and the Caribbean attributed to Hurricane Irma is put at US $10 billion. 37 lives are reported lost to date as a result or as a consequence of Hurricane Irma. St. Kitts and Nevis was spared a direct hit and consequential loss of lives. For this we are most thankful to God for His divine providence. While we fared better than most, we are not without our own share of difficulties and challenges. The preliminary damage assessment report for St. Kitts has been prepared by Mr. Cromwell Williams, Director of Public Works, and he served as chairman of the Damage Assessment and Recovery Committee of NEMA. The preliminary damage assessment report for Nevis, I have been advised, has been prepared by Mr. Brian Dyer, who is the disaster manager at the Nevis Disaster Management Department in the Premier's ministry there. The estimate of damage to St. Kitts and Nevis, joined in these two reports, has been conservatively put at EC $53.2 million. I repeat, the estimate of damage to St. Kitts and Nevis has been put by the experts conservatively at EC $53.2 million. The Nevis Island Administration estimates the damage on that island at approximately EC $12 million. And on the island of St. Kitts, our estimate then is about $41 million. This estimate reflects damage mostly in the public sector, and we are still awaiting reports from the private sector. I should say the estimate is preliminary, that is, work is still continuing. But in the context of the high standard of accountability which we have established as a government, we thought that it was about the right time, nigh 1 week after, to give the country a clearer sense of the damage that we have experienced. The Water Department, and we have the manager of the Water Department here, so if I'm in error, he will correct me. The Water Service Department has put their estimate on St. Kitts at $1.3 million. The Electricity Department has brought in an estimate at $3.6 million. Roads Quarry at $500,000. Residential housing suffered a high $5.9 million. Other government buildings has been put at about $250,000. The agricultural sector had a heavy hitting unexpectedly in the context of a hurricane, and that has been put at $10.5 million. Coastal damage has been estimated at 11 million. Forest damage has been put at 5.5 million. Sporting facilities suffered damages estimated at 1.6 million. And of course, these sporting facilities include the pavilion whose roof has been lost, or which roof was lost. And of course, that is at Mansion in St. Paul's. There were reports of damage to sporting facilities there, and there are several others. The estimate then is 1.6. Port Surrey and Casper has put in a figure of $900,000. And NEMA, in terms of the activation of that office, security and personnel, overtime, etc., attached to the Ministry of National Security, has been put at $200,000 for a total in St. Kitts of $41,173,300. We could round that off then at just above 41 million. In Nevis, they have given us the following categorization, and I report as it is written. Social sectors, which involve housing, health, and education, has been put at 5.9 million. Infrastructure, I'm advised mainly jetties, were damaged to the tune of $4.7 million. And the economic sectors, primarily agriculture and tourism, was pegged at a modest $1.3 million for a total of $12,021,588, and they added 39 cents for precision. So that brings it to a total of just over $53 million in damages. In relation to the housing stock, it's important to note that the damage to that sector was categorized in about 4 levels, from minor, which involved basically a loss of a few shingles, to very significant, where the structure could not be safely occupied without substantial repairs. And there was a 4th category in which very little was found, where the structure was completely uninhabitable. The National Housing Corporation, for its part, reported a number of homes all across St. Kitts were affected, but the largest numbers were returned in NEMA districts number 3, number 6, number 7, and number 8. 6, 7, and 8 detail the northeastern coastline of St. Kitts and Nevis. It's therefore not surprising that the bulk of residential and other damages were sustained there. For example, the damage to the Deepway Fisheries Corp is embodied in that figure with respect to agriculture and marine resources. Agriculture and marine resources, their loss covered the loss of greenhouses, fruit trees, animal feed, crop fencing, pig pens, equipment, and hundreds of animals whose deaths were attributed to Hurricane Irma. There was also significant damage to agricultural feeder roads. This is almost a norm whenever there is that kind of bad weather. Indeed, it was more than bad weather. It was a most dangerous storm. The Department of Marine Resources reported significant damages, principally to the Fisheries Cooperative building in Deep Bay and the breakwater facility in Old Road. That breakwater is something well known to the people on the western side. It had had its own challenges since it was attempted to be constructed many years back. And so ongoing work needs to be done there. Notwithstanding our own challenges, we have provided relief supplies to a number of islands, including St. Martin, French and Dutch, Saba, and Anguilla. Over the period 8 September to the 13th of September 2017, we permitted entry to 251 persons at our seaports. I repeat, 251 persons were permitted entry at our seaport. So this is a period immediately subsequent to the passage of Hurricane Irma. Of this number, 81 persons held U.S. passports. So these were persons coming in from other islands into St. Kitts. 42 of them held St. Kitts and Nevis passports. So those were our nationals coming back home. 42 held French passports. 36 held passports from the Netherlands. 15 held passports from India. I repeat, 15 only held passports from India. 7 held passports from Guyana. 1 held passport from Trinidad and Tobago. 4 held passports from Taiwan. And 7 held passport from Ireland. And 2 held passports from Russia. The others were 1 and so on. And so persons from all over the world came to St. Kitts, as it were, to find safe haven at this particular moment in time. And we thank God that we were in a position to offer this level of accommodation. Those are passengers strictly by sea. All passengers, and this is important to note in the context of some of the things we hear on radio, all passengers were processed by immigration officers, customs and excise officers. Health officials were on hand, including veterinary officers, and officers of the K9 unit were also on hand for these arrivals. Immigration officials have reported that passengers had adequate documentation. I repeat, the immigration officials have reported that all these passengers had adequate documentation. When you hear reports that some people come in and they had nothing to all go so in relation to those who came here at our seaports. And equally, we would say the same pertain at the airport. In sum, due care and attention were paid to all incoming passengers from impacted countries. And we were able to do this without compromising our national security, without compromising our public health. That is why the full team of health professionals were there, available and in service. Important for us as a model member of the international community, we did all this processing while at the same time we preserved the human dignity of those who had come to our country at this a time of great need. The majority of the vessels brought passengers on trips were organized by Ross University School of Veterinary Medicine. I think the information I had was that one of their schools suffered damage in one of the islands, and they therefore wanted us to facilitate their in-transit outward, and so they came in. Four Seasons Resort, and there was Sunil Jihani, who also was involved in that exercise of organized entry of persons through vessels. We want to make the point that the Team Unity administration considered itself as a compassionate administration. The favor and the consideration which we show to others may one day be reciprocated tenfold to our citizens in their moments of distress. We should bear in mind that we have a heavy migrant population, and almost everywhere our citizens are, we would want them to be treated with respect, and all the humanitarian love and care be ushered their way by any host government. In my view, the facilitation which we have preferred so far is the right and proper thing to have done, at this moment of regional distress and dislocation caused by Irma. We are able to be our brother's keeper as a result of God's providence, and we will do as much as we can. We offer further facilitation to the affected islands in the following other areas. I want to make the point too, just to clarify some mischief, that none of these persons have applied nor any of them receive work permit. None of them. So we are not bringing persons here for them to be hidden away at Port Zante or in Charlestown or in any neck or cranny of the country. What we have done simply out of love, simply from the standpoint of human decency, that people who had come upon distress not of their own making should properly be facilitated at our shores and at our borders. None of them have requested work permits. None, therefore, has been accorded to any. I want to make the further point that our immigration laws, particularly as they relate to work permit, will never be compromised, particularly if it were to disadvantage any of our citizens. Our citizens always will have pride of place in St. Kitts and Nevis. To go back to the areas in which we have offered, and we have offered this to all the affected countries, we have said that our RLB International Airport can be used as a staging platform for relief efforts into St. Bart's, French and Dutch St. Martin, and St. Eustatius. We have said, secondly, that the Joseph and France Hospital and the other hospitals, we have 3 in St. Kitts, 1 in Nevis, they remain available should the need for health services be required. Truth be told, we were lucky to have passed through the storm without any injury and any loss of life occasioned by Hurricane Irma. The day after, when I visited Mary Charles, not one patient. Not one patient. So it will be good if our health facilities, which at many times are underutilized, could be put to productive use in service to humanity. And so we have made these, again, available. Secondary schools. Places will be available to accommodate displaced students in Anguilla, St. Martin, and the BVI, who are registered for the upcoming CXC exams. So therefore, we are making our schools available. I have discussed this today with the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education. These persons will be offered free enrollment in our schools until their own high schools are ready to accommodate them. We have prioritized those who are about to write the CXC exam. Particularly during my visit in Anguilla, this was one area of concern that had emerged. What do we do? Because the only school in Anguilla, has been significantly damaged, maybe 90% of it. The government of Anguilla has said that they will be ready for October. That is as it is, a prediction, an expectation. But the parents and guardians are concerned that they may have a long time. And they are rightly concerned if they think that their students will be disadvantaged from a long closure of the high school. Again, on humanitarian and compassionate grounds, we are saying we are able to do so. These things that we are offering to do are manageable. They will make a significant difference in the efforts to restore those countries now impacted to a state of normalcy. It is, in my view, in our interest to all that we reasonably can do to get these countries back to normalcy. For it's our interest. Our citizens are there. We want them to get on with their lives in an environment that conduces to healthy living. And so if we help these countries to get back on their feet again, our citizens and the wider community would benefit from this. Personnel, we are prepared to assist in the restoration of electricity supply to Anguilla and to any other requesting assistance, any of the other islands impacted requesting assistance. In our moment of great need, when persons here were becoming impatient, after a hurricane, not after a high wind, when electricity had gone out as a result of falling pole lines and poles, etc., it was the good government of St. Lucia that volunteered. Didn't let us come to ask. It volunteered the services of several persons to assist in the restoration of our electricity supply. I heard the Honorable Minister Ian Patrice Liebert say that we are now 100% covered. Did I hear you right, sir? By tomorrow. So he was predicting. So we are getting there, 100% coverage. We are grateful for the assistance of the government of St. Lucia. We want to return the favor to other countries similarly displaced as we were the recipient of the good graces of another country. Our Coast Guard assets, these will be made available to assist with the transportation to UNFAM affected countries in a manner to be determined and requests from any of the affected member states. Of course, all of these things will be done in accordance with established protocol. These 5 areas of assistance I had proffered for consideration of the government of Anguilla when I visited yesterday and met with the Chief Minister and met with the Deputy Governor of Anguilla, both of whom have strong St. Kitts and Nevis ties. As a compassionate and caring administration, the government, having learned of the distress of many of our citizens elsewhere, undertook a series of missions to Anguilla, St. Martin, and the British Virgin Islands. These visits were intended to provide support to our nationals there and to signal to the rest of the resident community that St. Kitts and Nevis stood in solidarity with them in this their hour of need. We were able to assess the situation on the ground and to relate directly with our people in a way that no second-hand version could have adequately substituted. Speaking from my own experience, the Chief Minister of Anguilla was very delighted that we had come to visit Anguilla. Our own nationals, over 100 of them, came at short notice to meet my delegation at the airport in Anguilla. That, in my view, is ample indication of how important our visit was to them. Over 100 of them came out. And Anguilla has all the challenges, fuel being rationed. So you could only get up to 20 US per day in gasoline, because they're attempting to spread that for as long as they could, particularly since one of the tanks, I gather, had suffered damage. So our people then brave a lot to come to here, and as it were, to fraternize, to explain to us their situation, and we benefited tremendously from that first-hand interaction. This is not what somebody would have put up on social media. This is what we went, looked, saw, interacted, and now for sure was happening. All of our nationals were encouraged, and I believe their own confidence in the ability to weather the storm was boosted by our interaction. In fact, several of them said so. The chief minister told me that. He said, your people really appreciated your visit, and so did my government. As I went through Anguilla, the valley, and the outskirts with him, he was introducing us to almost everybody. Come see, the Prime Minister of St. Kitts has come. And the minister, Patrice Liebert, was with him, and the governor was with him. He was attempting again to build the confidence of his people. You are not alone. The rest of the islands are with us. And so it is important that we are able to do these things for one another. I could well recall in our first year in office, we suffered the impact of hurricane. In Southwell, you remember the name, but I don't want to call any name now. But the hurricane came, and the cabinet was almost paralyzed by that impact. Because it came early, it came in what? September, or thereabout, just like now. We were less, huh? Okay. Brandy is guessing it's George. But was paralyzed, because when you begin to contemplate the magnitude of damage as the one which has befallen Anguilla, it is easy to get overwhelmed. I heard the Prime Minister of Grenada related to his own mental condition when the hurricane had struck Ivan sometime also. And as he spoke about his own despondence, his own depression, if you will, as a consequence of the enormity, it was the coming to him of persons from the region speaking to him that helped to get him to do what a leader must do. Lead, inspire confidence, give the people the sense that they can do it. They can take up their stripes, as it were, and they can move on. And so I know what a tremendous boost this was to our people and to those in the administration. We sat with the governor, deputy governor, in his own private meeting with the cabinet secretaries. I could see some of them, a lady there, a gentleman there, he seemed to have been a lay pastor. And I thought this government can't be so bad if you have a man of God there as a permanent secretary. And we all were talking and sharing notes and trying to understand the nature of their difficulty. And so they took us into their confidence. And as I said, we had a very good meeting. In the spirit of the OECS engagement then, we went to those islands because St. Kitts and Nevis government wanted to hear from our nationals, to ascertain their needs, and to see firsthand how they were coping in the aftermath of what for them must have been a traumatic life event. The psychology of our nationals receiving the assurance of their leaders can never be underestimated in a time like this. Indeed, the joy and love exhibited yesterday, some of which Minister Liebert was moved to capture on his own cell phone by our nationals, provided us with greater certainty as to the value of our presence with our people, being grounded with them, assuring them, the God that spared your life, not going to leave you. Do not get your expectations all up and discouraged at this moment, because there's a lot of work to be done. And there was some among our nationals who came and saw out of tragedy, out of disaster, if you will, an opportunity to rebuild again had emerged. And two gentlemen, one from East Bastia And one from Sandy Point said to us, I see an opportunity now where I could get in this particular line of business because all the others are flawed. I must be the only one who was spared in this general area, but I will need some financing, some loan support. How would you help us? Said to Minister Leiber, take note, this gentleman. Because for me, that is a kind of spirit that helps nation to prosper, where people can see out of the valley an opportunity to get up to the mountaintop. And this was what I captured from the man, that spirit of survival, that instinctiveness to want to do the best I can, that feeling that we must never be overwhelmed, even negative as it may be. We can rise above the negativity. And so I am hoping that having come back, Minister Liebert would have spoken to one of our bankers, and we will begin to see what we will be able to do for these two good gentlemen who are our nationals. And on that very positive experience about Anguilla, I want to add. But I note on that point that we are going into our 34th anniversary of independence. At 35, they say, you pass a critical threshold where we will be next year. No more young, but at a mature and advancing age, where people expect better from you. Your best years come after 35. And so we are hoping as we look forward, we could see our people, or more of our people, taking on the challenges of nationhood, seeing opportunity in this, our beautiful St. Kitts and Nevis. Too often, because we view the glass as half full, we miss the opportunities that are at our door and beckoning us. And it's only when someone who comes from yonder sees that opportunity, we say, nobody will look after me. We have to be able to see those opportunities, and this government will always help you. 34 years of apprenticeship in nation building, our 35th anniversary must meet us better. Let us begin to have a national conversation about the challenges and the opportunities of development. Let us as a people go to the petty conversations on social media and deal with more serious issues that could really create a better life for each and every one of us. Let me say thank you to all of our residents and citizens for the discipline, for your good behavior during the passage of Irma. When we look and we hear what happens elsewhere, not just with looting, we know it could have happened here too. But our people showed discipline. Discipline is a crucial ingredient in the path of national development. And so I want to congratulate all of us for the discipline. I want to commend the leadership of NEMA, and in particular to thank Clarissa Langley Stevens, for her leadership of NEMA at a time that was critical for our country and at a period when Carl Herbert had taken a leave of absence. So I want to give Mrs. Stevens a note of congratulations for her leadership, and to thank all the staff, to thank our NEOC, to thank our essential services, the doctors and nurses and the vet officers who went to the port post Irma to safeguard and to offer assistance, to thank the security forces, the police, the defense force, the fire and rescue for the wonderful job that they did, to thank the media for carrying real news, because that is critically important. Real news. There are certain points in the life of a nation where we have to get real. where we have to be more thoughtful about our approach to the development and issues, where we have to get to the fact-finding and to forget the shushuing that does nothing to elevate our country and our people. In that regard, ZIZ has been under-recognized as a national institution, and I want to thank those of ZIZ for doing a very good job, and indeed the broad media sector in St. Kitts and Nevis.
Stay up to date with news, programs, and activities of the government with SKNIS. Like us on Facebook. Listen to us on SoundCloud. Follow us on Twitter. And watch our videos on YouTube. Connect with us today. SKNIS, St. Kitts and Nevis Information Service.